Alright, hello everyone to this next video. I saw that in my previous videos I'm talking a little bit advanced stuff in Unreal Engine 5 and a lot of people didn't catch up. So in this video I'm gonna show everything that is just the basics of Unreal Engine 5. So this is a must video to create, so let's get started. The first thing that you need to do is you need to go to unrealengine.com and you need to click here the download button. Just click over here and you have two options for the Unreal Engine licensing. The first is the publishing license, which is basically for video games, and when you reach 1 million in revenue, in gross revenue USD, you get to pay them 5% royalty cut. So the next is the creator's license, which excludes the game development features in Unreal Engine. So what you need to do is you need to download here the publishing license. So this is how the Epic Game Launcher looks like. By default, it will be open on the Epic Game Store, so you need to click on Unreal Engine. And right here, it loads up everything about your Unreal Engine. So the first is Unreal Engine 4. And you have overview of it, you have tutorials, you have the forum, news, roadmap, etc. So what you need to do is you need to go to the library, and here from the engine version, click on the plus, and you can add all the engine versions that you want. I've already added Unreal Engine 5, but you can add older versions like 4.27 or even get lower to 4.0, for example. All right. So this is how you install the Unreal Engine, and you need to add Unreal Engine 5. The next thing over there below it is the My Projects. So here will be a stack with your projects that you've already created. And moving further on is the Vault. So here is your Vault where you can add different packages that you bought or download for free from the marketplace. Let me show the marketplace. If you click here, this is the marketplace, and from here you can see that there's a lot of items here that you can buy. You can buy different models, you can buy effects, you can buy blueprints, you can buy a whole frameworks, etc. So here is your marketplace, and here you can search for something, and when you buy any of the assets, it goes to your Vault, and here you can add it to the project. So by clicking here, add to the project, it will automatically ask you to which project to add, etc. and how you start a scene. So let's click on launch, and this is the first window that appears when you start Unreal Engine 5. So let's go pretty quickly through all the tabs. Here you have games templates, first person, puzzle, third person. If you change them, if you click on them, you can see that this is different game templates that you can choose from and start with, at least with the basics. The next is the film editing. You can create a blank project which is set up for film and video production, or you can set up to virtual production, you can select concerts or in-camera visual effects. The next tab is for architectural engineering and visualization, and the last one is for automotive. All right, so we're gonna click on games, and here in this panel, the project defaults, you can choose what type of code system to use. You can choose blueprints or you can choose C++. Of course, you can enable each one inside your project too, but this is just for a startup, so Unreal Engine knows what you want in the start. So the target platform, I choose desktop. You can choose also mobile. This is the platform that you're developing on. The quality preset is, if I use the maximum, it will set up my project at the maximum high level of graphic fidelity and quality. But if I use scalable, it would set up my project with the features that are necessary to start the project, but you can scale it up and turn on feature by feature to get that top-notch quality. So I'm just going to use maximum, and I'm going to use desktop. The started content is a bunch of objects and meshes and materials that if you want, you can add to your project, but I'm not gonna add them. And ray tracing, if you have an RTX video card, you can turn it on. So after we go all through the basics of this panel, of the starting panel of Unreal Engine 5. I'm just gonna use the third person template. I'm just gonna use desktop maximum. I'm gonna call it new project, and I'm gonna click create to create my scene. You just need to wait a few seconds depending on your PC. All right, and now my project is created. It's a little bit confusing. You have a lot of panels, a lot of windows, a lot of buttons, but I'm gonna go through each of them and explain what they do. So the first and the most important is the game view. This is the game view, this panel where you see everything inside your game that you placed. Your characters, your camera, your effects, your lighting, everything that happens in Unreal is created here in your project view. And how to navigate. So the first option to navigate is hold Alt key on your keyboard and start with left mouse drag, which will rotate around the object that you selected. The next is the right mouse button. While holding Alt, will zoom in, zoom out. And if I click my middle mouse button, I'm gonna pan. So this is the first method, which is pretty similar like every 3D package that you create 3D models like Blender, Maya, or 3D Studio Max uses this method. The another option is if you hold right click on your mouse button and try AWSD, just like in any game, and you can walk in your scene. I'm using both methods, but most of the time I'm using the second method with AWSD. So when you are walking here, you see that the speed is high. If you want to tune down the speed, go here at the camera speed, turn it down to 1, and you see how slow and smooth are we moving. All right. So if I tweak it up all the way to 8, you can see pretty fast. The camera is going pretty fast. So if we have a huge terrain, you can tune it up all the way to 8. And if you want to go beyond that, there is camera speed scaler. So I'm gonna put 100 and it's just gonna fly away even faster. So this is just a multiplier. So it's 100 multiplied by 8 and your speed is increasing. So let me turn it back to 1. I'm just gonna go over here. I'm gonna show you how to go on the objects like that. So let me put it to 3. Okay, so this is how you rotate, how you navigate in your scene. The next thing is you can select objects by left clicking on them, and you can move them by using the axis up, to the side, to the other side. So this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis, and this is the z-axis. How do you know? From here, from this little gizmo at the bottom. As you can see here, it is moving x, y, z. All right. So the first thing that you can do is move it, or you can just select the white sphere and move it just like that. The second thing is if you press E key on your keyboard, the same thing, but I rotate just like that. The third thing, if you click R on your keyboard, scaling. But as you can see, it is scaling by steps. So how can we turn this off? Here, again, from this menu, this is the snapping, this is the angle of the snapping, and this is the scaling. So if I click here on the scaling, it says scale and snap. And right now it is scaling by the value of 0.25. If I select 10, it will start scale with 10 units, as you can see. So let me turn it back to 25 and I'm scaling on 0.25. And if I click on this arrow, it will scale smoothly without any incrementation. So this is how you turn off the scaling option if you don't want to snap. The next is how I can turn off this 10-degree snapping. Again, here you can see 10 degree. Just click on it. You can snap to different degrees. And if you click on it, it will rotate smoothly. All right. And final, how to move even smoothly, how to move an object even smoothly. Here from the enable snapping of the grid, if I select 1000, you can see how it snaps by 1000 units. If I turn it off, I move it smoothly. All right. So this is the basics of how to navigate in Unreal Engine. And if you don't want to use the hotkeys like WER, you can always use the palette from here. So this is the selection with Q. Here is your W, E, and R. So it's move, rotate, and scale. So this is pretty much the basics that you need to know in order to navigate and do stuff in the viewport over here. And let me explain a little bit about the left side. Here you can change between different modes. So right now we are using the lit mode, so we have lightning. If I click on unlit, this is the mode where you can see all your objects without the lightning. You can see also the wireframe, detailed, lightning. You can select lightning only. You can select reflections and a lot more options over here. From this menu, you can select how you want to see your viewport. For example, if I want to see my viewport from the top, I click here, I click lit, example. I want to see it from the front, wireframe. I want to see it from the back. I want to see it from the, let's say from the bottom or from the perspective. Another thing, you can turn on cinematic viewport. And as you can see, we have a little bit of cinematic effect here, a wide angle. So this is pretty much summarized this window, the game view. The next thing is our content browser. So let me just close it first. And if I click Control Space on my keyboard, this is the dynamic content browser, which will show up with this hotkey. And if I click here in my scene, it will automatically hide, because I want to free a little bit more space when I'm working in Unreal Engine. So I'm using it like that. So Control Space, showing it. And if you want to dock it, here you can click on Dock in Window. So what this content browser does is pretty much here you stack up all your 3D objects and everything that the game needs. So this is your like asset folder. So for example, if I want to create something, I'm just going to right click over here and I can create new folder, and I can create different type of objects like animations, AI, blueprints, foliages, materials. So this is your menu where you can create empty objects to start with. Here is your hierarchy of your project. So as you can see here, my name is for my project is new project, and I have geometry, mannequin, third person, and third person blueprint. If I want to create a folder, right click, new folder, test folder, and this is my new folder. So for example, if I want to hold in this folder my textures, I'm gonna call it textures, and here I'm gonna stack up all the textures that I want in my project. So pretty much the basic here is that you can create folders and create different objects. For example, I can create material. I can call it my material. All right. So in order to import 3D objects, you need to right click and click import to game/textures. And here, all the formats that Unreal support, you can import almost everything. Audio, you can import 3D meshes, FBX, Alembic, you can import videos, you can import OGG files, whatever you like. So right click, import to this folder. So this is how you import stuff in your project. Here you can read your hierarchy. Right now we're in content textures. From here you can save all the modified assets. The next thing is you can search by searching here, for example, my material, and you can find pretty easily the objects that you want if your project is pretty big. And the other thing that you can search by is, if you click here, you can search by filters. So for example, if I want to search textures, I'm gonna click here, and right now I'm searching for textures. If I turn it off, again, I'm searching materials. If I go to the material tab and click on materials, right now, as you can see, my material name is type, and this is green. So I'm searching for my material, and it is green because it found a material. If I turn it off and turn on the texture, it's gonna it's going to disappear. So there is no texture with the name my material, but there is a material with the name my material. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So if you right click on the filters, you can remove all filters, remove all but this one, or remove just this one. Let's remove the texture, let's remove the material. So what I teach you so far is the folder construction, how to add objects, how to search object, and final thing about the content browser is the collections. So here in the collection, if I open this tab and click on add a collection, I'm gonna add vocal collection, and I'm gonna call it vocal files. And in this collection, you can drag and drop assets here to add them to the collection. So I'm gonna go to my texture and I'm gonna drag and drop this asset here. So in my vocal files right now, if I click, I have one file added to this collection. And for example, this collection can be trees, and I can easily click on my trees collection if I'm trying to find trees in my project. If my project, for example, has a couple of hundred models and you want to find only the trees, you can create different collections. Keep in mind that there are three types of collections. One is shared, the second is private, and the third is vocal. Shared means if you have a source control server, you can share all the objects with the persons in your team, so everybody can access them and just work on the same project from a big library. For example, the big studios are using shared collections. They have a lot of props, a lot of game ready meshes that the artists just use them and not model them from scratch and just feed the game with all the assets. So this is pretty handy to use shared collections on the server in order your team to work very fast. Right now I'm using the vocal one, and in the private you can just set up one of the collections, for example, or many of the collections to be private only for you, but you can later on unlock them on the server. And I'm using the vocal collection because I didn't set up a source control. So the next thing is the command center, where you type your commands. From here, from the CMD, you can type any command that you know in Unreal Engine. So if you are trying to find where to type the command, just type it over here. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna talk is this panel above our game view. So here in the platforms, you can select different platforms, iOS, Android. You can change your project to a different platform. Here from the play, if I click play, you just simply start playing your game, as you can see. If I click escape on my keyboard, I stop playing this scene. So the next thing is the modes that you can switch between. Right now we're in active select editing modes, which means that we are now in moving object, placing different characters, cameras, etc. If I go here on the active landscape mode, we're in a landscape mode where we go set up a bunch of stuff and create a landscape. For example, here if I use the default settings for creating a landscape, if I click create, it will start creating a landscape for me. And right now we have a landscape, and you can use all the tools over here to manipulate your landscape. You can flutter it, you can bring some noise to it. So here is your landscape tool. So the next thing is to place foliage. If I click here on the foliage tool, I can drop foliage here and start painting them. I have few foliages over here downloaded. I'm just gonna drag and drop this foliage. And as you can see, I have this sphere and I start painting some foliage over here. You have different tools to do that. You can place a single foliage just like that, just by clicking. You can erase foliages, and you can do whatever you want with these tools. But pretty much here, I can add more foliages over here, and they're gonna spawn. Of course, you can increase the paint density just like that to place a lot more foliages. But this is pretty much how you place foliages. You can place trees, you can place rocks, etc. from here. The next is the mesh painting editing mode, which I'm not going to talk about, but basically what it does is it paints on a 3D mesh. From here you can turn on the fracture editing mode, which pretty much create deformations and destruction in Unreal Engine. And the last one is the brush editing mode. You can go ahead and check all the modes over here and just play with them. Let's go to this panel, cinematics. You can create different cinematic sequences over here. I'm gonna have a separate video about cinematics because it's pretty hot topic and it's very cool. The blueprint system is over here. You can create different blueprint classes from here. So the content is my content browser. You can have up to 4 content browsers. You can have different content browsers open at the same time. If I click here, content browser number 4, as you can see, we have another one that we can manipulate and work with. So if I want to move an object from here to, for example, to this folder, I can just drag and drop it and click move it over here. For example, if you have a pretty huge project, this is pretty handy to have 2 different separate content browsers to move objects and operate with them. This is Quixel Bridge. I'm gonna show it in this video at the end. And here from the create menu, you can create different stuff. Like here is your lighting palette. I can create directional light. I can create some shapes. I can create a cube. I can create a cinematic camera, visual effects, volumes, empty actors, etc. So here you can create different objects that can affect your 3D scene. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the world outliner and the details, the settings of each object. So let's talk about the world outliner. So the world outliner holds every object that you put in the scene here in the viewport. For example, I just created this cube, and as you can see, it has an icon of a brick, which means this is a static mesh. This has an icon of a sun, which means this is lightning, and it shows here the type of the things that you can have. Again, here you can create folders. Click over here to create a new folder and call it my folder. The idea of folders is your project must be clean and everything must be arranged in different folders. Like for example here, this is holding all my lighting. What I need to do is drag and drop my directional light over here. The next cool feature is this eye, which can disable the objects that are held in the folder. You can disable multiple objects by putting them in folders and just disabling by the eye, or you can disable single object by clicking over here just on this one. For example, I want to disable the light source but not the whole folder. I just click on the light source. All right, and of course you can search here in the outliner. For example, if I want to find my cube, it will show everything that has the keyword cube. And the most important thing is the details panel, which holds the properties of the object that you have. For example, this is a mesh. It has a transformation. So here you can see the X, Y, and Z axis for the location, for the rotation. Of course, you can rotate. If I drag over here, I can rotate it. I can scale it up. I can say that this object is movable or static. This is the slot that holds the mesh. This is the material of the object. You can set up physics, collisions, etc. So all the properties of an object are held in the details panel. But if I go to my lighting, I see completely different settings because it's a different type of object. It's a directional light. And if I turn up the intensity, you see how the lighting is affecting my scene. If I turn down the angle to -70, you can see how the lighting is affecting, and you can set up colors, etc. So right now we cover pretty much all the basics: the content browser, the viewport, all the panels over here, the world outliner, and the details. So let's just go a little step forward and click on the material. Here on the material, you see there is a shader graph with a lot of connections. So here you create your materials. So if you wonder where I can create my material, just double click on it and it will show the material editor mode. And if you right click, you can have all the parameters that you can stack up over here in order to create great materials. So once you create a material, you need to click save, and Unreal Engine will compile the shader. So this is how you create materials, from double clicking on them and just create materials. And the final two things that I want to show you is the plugins and the Quixel Bridge. So go to edit, click on plugins, and here you can see all the plugins that are supported in Unreal Engine. So for example, if you want to add water system, just type water, click on enable, reset Unreal Engine 5, and you have the water plugin imported in Unreal Engine 5. Here you can find a lot of plugins that you can use, and they're all free and supported by Unreal Engine 5. So here from edit plugins, you can add all the plugins that you need in order to speed up your process of game development. And one final thing that I want to show you is the Quixel Bridge. Here is a library of amazing 3D scanned models, which is provided by Quixel Megascans, which is part of Epic family right now, and all the assets over here are free. So if I go to 3D plants, you can have a lot of different plants in your game. If I go to the collection, you can explore, for example, those cactus. Let's click on it. And you can see this is a 3D cactus. And if you want to add it to your project, let's add this cactus. Just click here on the download and select the quality. I'm going to select a medium quality. I'm going to click on download. And right now the cactus is downloading on my machine. And if I want to add it to my project, click add. And I have this cactus in the project. So if I drag and drop it over here, if I want to go and focus on this object, I click F on my keyboard, just like that. And we have a nice little cactus over here. So if I open again my Quixel Bridge, you can just browse over here. It has a lot of objects, 16,000 and almost 500 objects, which you can use for free in order to fill up your world. So here, you can use decals, you can use 3D plants. So use the bridge, as it is one of the most powerful tools in order to get content for free in your project. Here you have a tab for the metahumans, which I'm gonna show in a separate video what metahuman is and how to operate with it inside of Unreal Engine. But keep in mind that you can add characters from the metahumans menu. And when you click on Vocal, those are the assets that are downloaded on your machine. So thank you guys for watching this video. Those are the basics of Unreal Engine 5, and you will need them in order to follow my next videos, because it is very important to feel comfortable in Unreal Engine 5. And that's why I'm making this quick video of showing the basic stuff in Unreal Engine 5. And of course, if you want to support me, you can always buy my courses. Link is in the description. And finally, if you like the video, place a thumb up, subscribe, and wait for my next video. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.